Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-AM. This is my DFS. This is my top value plays, everything you need to know before the lock. First and foremost, thank you for stopping by. Give me about just under 30 minutes, and I'm going to go through ownership projections. I'm going to go through all the guys that are 7,000 and below and pick out my favorites for you because in this tournament, it's a little rough. Of course, we had Will Z that pulled out, so that helped a little bit on pricing, but even made the field got to be the worst field probably in the 2022 season. And then just a side note, I've got put Spieth up here for a reason to remind me that I watched his presser. And just so you guys know, if you didn't see it, he was dealing with a stomach bacteria issue. I guess he took some antibiotics for a sinus thing, and that can cause a stomach issue. Long story short, he was having an issue with the runs. I believe that was on Friday. And so he said like his last 3 or 4 holes, the last thing he was concerned about is playing golf. It was more just getting in the house and then going to get this checked out. But he is now on something that is curing it. He says he feels better. And so now we have the ultimate question that has been out there is, do we go down the Tony Finau route of someone that's not good, has not been playing good recent form, but has a great track record here. It's a comfortable venue for him. He loves playing, I believe it was a Jack Owen, the country musician guy. They are great friends, so they have a great time. So it's something that we have to think about going forward. And, of course, with Will Z bowing out, there's only so many top guys that you can put in here if you're looking that way. Okay, with that said, let's get into this and let's talk some golf. Okay, so let's take care of some house cleaning items. And, of course, I'm still trying to build up that Masters event giveaway. So as I mentioned, everything that I receive from PrizePicks, I'm going to put it in a giveaway for you guys. Just something that I'm doing to give back to the community. And if you've not tried out PrizePicks, I highly recommend it. Again, as I said, it's a good way to diversify. And if you don't really understand what it is, simply put, they're taking the Vegas props on different players. Of course, we're focused on golf, and you can do anything from birdies, green and reg, fantasy score for like the first round or any round. You can also do multiple sports. So, of course, if you're more into or want to do football or basketball or whatever it is, they've got plenty there. And they are still honoring my promo code. So if you today sign up, and if you're not signed up already, they'll match you up to 100%, up to $100. And I'm only going to be doing this PrizePicks thing once a week when I'm actually giving the picks out. I just think it makes total sense for that. And so what they've done for the Pebble Beach Pro-Am is I was kind of hoping they might have not caught that there's certain guys, of course, that are playing Monterey or Spyglass, and that we might get something, but only guys they're actually allowing you to pick from are the guys that are teeing off on Thursday at Pebble Beach. And I even think their fantasy score, but even like the guys that you're picking from is not the greatest. They don't even have, like I said, you're missing some of the guys, the bigger guys. So the good news is, though, I did do a little research, and I'm going to go with birdies over or under. And so if you pull up the last 4 rounds of these guys for their first round, Nick Taylor, Pat Perez, and Stuart Sink, especially Stuart Sink and Pat Perez, rate the highest as in birdies gained in their first round. Now, we don't care about score. We don't care how many bogeys. They just need to get 5 birdies or an eagle can be thrown in there, of course. So the guys that popped up top are Nick Taylor, Pat Perez, and Stuart Sink. And then hilariously, they got Nick Watney on here. Now, I think he's had some way long ago past success here, but he ranked like out of the field of 150, like 108th on making birdies in round 1 over the last 4 tournaments he's played in. So with all that said, I'm going to go with Nick Taylor to get over 4 birdies, Pat Perez over 4 birdies, and Stuart Sink over 4 birdies. And then, of course, you have to, if you're doing, you got to pick an under, and the under is going to be Nick Watney. And then you have a couple options. And what I recommend is, this flex play. So that way there, if you hit 3 out of 4, you still get 1.5 extra money, which is if you play player props, that's about standard. So if you put 100 in, you get 150 back. If you still hit 4 out of the 5, you get 5 extra money, which is real good. Now, me being who I am, I always go with the 10X. When I pick these guys, I pick them with the thought process, I'm going to get all 4 right. I've hit it multiple times. So at 10X is my money. It makes it worth my while. But that, like I said, if I had to give my recommendation, especially if it's your first time doing it, do flex play, win a little cash. And then, you could parlay that in and do a power play where you can 4X it or 10X it. All right, let's get on to this. Just real quick, I showed my preview show and my picks, so I'm just going to show this really quick. I do select comp courses, and so we're going to look through these as I go through the value plays. Fortinet's probably my favorite. That's similar on all fronts, except it's not a coastal course. I mentioned I'm not using a lot of coastal courses just because they don't have a lot of stroke gain data. The Travelers actually, is a bent / POA, but also both kind of same in par, same in yardage. There's also a lot of correlation that guys who've done well at the Charles Schwab, hits like a Daniel Berger, or the WGC FedEx, again, Daniel Berger, the RBC Heritage, the RSM, and then even the American Express, because it has a couple course rotation of smaller courses, it's a Pro-Am, there's some correlation there. So I just like to look at that, might be my last kind of decision factor of yay or nay. If I'm, in between guys, that's when I use comp courses. It doesn't always sell me that, hey, this, because this guy's done well here, no matter what he's done in recent form or course history, that I'm going to go with that guy. But it's just one extra check mark. All right, let's go jump over to Fantasy National and let's do a little analysis. Okay, so over in Fantasy National, and this is going to be looking at DraftKings pricing, but again, you can use these picks for FanDuel, Yahoo, whatever. I'm going to be looking at the last 12 rounds that these guys have played. So on average, 3 tournaments. I've got no filters turned on. We want to keep the most recent data. And what I'm looking at is the mini model highlighting the key areas. Same things I did with my picks. Focused on approach around the green, putting, good drives, which that means specifically they're hitting the fairway first cut and then hitting the green on their approach. And then the one highest proximity to the pin, so that's your approach shot coming in, at about 22%, I believe, is 100 to 125. So that's the 5 key stroke gain areas I'm looking at. And then from a birdie perspective, I was looking at for my picks, but for these guys, I really just want to know who actually gains on POA over their last, should be, I think, 24 rounds. Some of these guys are going to have less than that, and so that's what this number represents, and we'll talk about that. Then, of course, you got recent results. What have they done over their past 5 tournaments? And then tournament history here at Pebble Beach. Okay. With that said, I probably got about 15 guys that I, think all could be okay plays. I'm going to dive into 5 of them specifically, and then we'll move on to ownership projections, weather, and all that kind of fun stuff. All right, so the one guy, if you have 7,100, I know this is supposed to be 7,000 and below, but if you did have an extra $100, I think Ramey and Schwartzel are good plays. You can see Ramey over only 3 rounds on POA. Of course, he's a Korn Ferry graduate, but when he has played there, he's gained over a stroke on the field putting on POA. Now, I don't know if that specifically comes from any of his Korn Ferry days, because we can pull, as you see here, Korn Ferry data. But, either way, it just shows that he has had some success. Even the Farmers, you can see at a T39. I'll click on him real quick for you. Let's just go see, what did he gain? So, yeah, you can see here he gained at the Farmers on POA greens 3.5 strokes. So that's probably where it came, because we don't have a lot of data on him. Of course, he had some miscuts here. But when he first came on tour, he played at Fortinet. He missed the cut, which I think is a good comparable course. That doesn't help. But Sanderson Farms is a tough track, long track. He made the cut. Then on Shriners and Bermuda, kind of easier venues. Bermuda, both greens. He had a 14th and a 17th. So, we're going with the most recent form, which would be the Farmers. He actually did make the cut, and that's a tough track, right? Of course, you got to play the North once, but I had to play the South 3 times, if I remember. Yep. It was last week, and it feels like it was forever ago. So again, just someone that you might want to look at. Schwartzel, this just fits him. You can see he's had kind of a mixed bag of results. Had a nice showing at a FedEx Play event, or the FedEx Cup BMW event. And then has only played here once, but had a T5 in 2020. So, that kind of, you can see his putting is where he has the issues. And he's kind of neutral when putting on POA, but doesn't really gain on any putting split. So there you go. JJ Spawn's been interesting, and I'm trying to remember what they stated, that I don't know if it was a health issue that he finally got over, but he's been playing some decent golf. I mean, every time, if you look up there, over his last 5 events, he's made the cut out of 4 at the RSM, which I think is a good comparable. He had a T16. He did miss the cut to Sony, but then at the Amex, another Pro-Am event, 2-course rotation, he had a T25. And then at the Farmers, again, there's guys, big names like Burns and DeChambeau and Finau and so on that missed the cut. Even Jordan Spieth, of course, broke his cut record, but was also not feeling well. So he had a T34 there. So I think JJ Spawn's interesting. Um, this Prox, that's not great. But around the green's really good. Everything else is kind of, but he doesn't gain on POA. And just so you guys know, a lot of the guys that I'm kind of focused on for my top value plays, I want guys that have played here before, and I want guys that gain on POA. Most of those guys will fit that box. I left Wyndham Clark in here because I think he's a good play. He's actually was in my top 15, if I believe, under my unsung picks. You can see out of this whole field, playing, 20, at least 24 rounds or more, he's gained almost a stroke on POA. Nobody else done that. And of course, he's, pretty elite off the tee. Now, he has distance. Sometimes he can get a little wayward. Approaching around the greens, we're a little shaky. So as I kind of joked, we just need him to drive the ball on every green and then make the putt and get eagles and birdies. But that will not happen. But he's also been playing good golf. I mean, he had a 13th at the Amex, which you would think that this, shorter courses wouldn't fit his game. But, when I kind of dove into Wyndham Clark, actually he's had some good showings at shorter tracks. And then even here, he had a T18th in 2020 and a T61, made the cut at least in 2019. And just a preference, when I talked about these guys, I'm looking for guys, right, these value plays that just get you the 6-6, get you a full lineup going into the weekend. Best case scenario, one of these guys get you a top 20. That could be, and these are the guys that are as we all know, if you do a lot of GPP, getting into tournaments, these are the game changers. If you find the diamond in the rough that just for whatever reason that 1 week out of the whole year ends up like a top 10, that's the guys that win the big money. All right, so the first guy that I was most interested in is Vaughn Taylor. If you don't know, his only win in the PGA came here in 2016, which funny enough, it does not show up here. It's the one before this, but since then, had a couple, 3 miscuts. He had a T21 last year and a T55. But if you know Vaughn Taylor, he's been around for a while. Got a real nice swing. It's very accurate. You can see really good on approach around the green. The putter is the issue, but over his career, at least over the last 24 events on POA, he does gain a half stroke, so I like that. I think it's just a good fit. And again, he's won here in the past, and not that long ago. I mean, 2016, you can see, he doesn't drive it far, but he's very accurate. Like I said, pretty good putter all around. Bermuda's his best, but you can see POA is positive. And then, like I said, over his last 24 rounds on POA is actually where he's gained almost a half a stroke. And then I talked to you guys about on my pick show, these 3 quadrants. Approach around the green putting is where I want to see guys strong at for this event. I'm not worried about gaining a ton of strokes off the tee. And then I already mentioned his win back here in 2016. He's done well at Mayakoba OHL. It's a coastal course. So, there's some crossover to Travelers. I think is, a pretty good comp course. There's the Amex. The John Deere is a short track, the RSM. So, long story short, course fit works for Vaughn Taylor here. I picked, Hayden Buckley. I kept him in here. You can see he does a lot of the things I like. Of course, he's, pretty new to us. He's a Corn Ferry guy, never played here before. So hence why I want guys. There is some nuances to this course, right? So it's a very slow kind of event, typically 6-7 hours to play, 18 holes. Just how you get to the event, depending where you tee off. If you've never done it before, from what I've heard from some of the guys, it does take a little bit of getting used to, of course, and then understanding these greens, where to have your misses. The more you play at any course, you learn, and if you like it and it suits you, and you keep going back, like Daniel Berger mentioned, even Patrick Cantley and their pressers, and some of the guys just don't like to travel abroad. That's also why they didn't go over to play on the DP World Tour like a lot of the big names. Anyways, getting off task, that I do want the guys that have a nice combination of, course history, some decent recent form, and also possible, or gain on POA greens. All right, so Kyle Stanley, of course, he doesn't gain on any green. He's a not a good putter. You look at his field; he's almost ranked last over his last few tournaments, but he has been popping up there, and so we have seen like the Luke List, the elite ball strikers, winning some tournaments. And so, with that said, like I said, out of the last 5 tournaments, he had a T27 at the Sony, made the cut at RSM. And this was more, his tournament history here was more what kind of sold me a little bit on Kyle Stanley was, 4 out of the 5 times he's played here, He's actually made the cut. And funny enough, what I also noticed is I believe some of his best putting events. So let me see here. Where he's gained the most strokes putting, some of it did correlate. I believe, yeah. So AT&T, he gained 4 strokes with a putter. That was a crazy long time ago. The Farmers, that's POA. So I found some areas where he has had spike putting weeks on POA green. So that was part of it too, with the hopes. And like I said, you can see RBC. There's some Wyndham, some courses where he's done well at that are good comparables. And so, with that said, I said for the price, you're getting an elite ball striker, so you can see drives, the proximity of the pins, approach, all that's good. So long as he hits fairways, hits greens, and we don't have to worry as much about around the green, and hopefully his proximity is close enough where he doesn't 3-whack it from 6 feet. But I like Kyle Stanley again. The pickings down here are slim. I think you could do worse than Ryan Moore. Again, you can see approach around the green, good drives. It's all good there. You can see he's positive on POA over his last 24 rounds on it. He's made 3 out of the last 5 cuts he's played at this event, a T26, a T20, a T48. So he does have good course history, but his recent form is trash, except for the Sanderson Farms. Hence, I'm not making him one of my top value plays. But again, if you are making mass lineups and when you're down in this area, could you plug him in and he could get you to the weekend? He could. Same with Ryan Armour, right? He had that little spike showing. Had a really good. I don't know if it was a Friday or Saturday for him. Shot real, went low in the 60s at the Sony. But if you look over again, his recent results: a T20 at the Sony, made the cut at the Bermuda, made the cut at Fortinet, missed cut at Sanderson's, which that's not a shocker. I really believe you have to be an elite ball striker with good distance to do well at Sanderson Farms. If you look at like Sergio Garcia, who's won there, Sebastian Munoz, who's won there. Funny enough, both elite ball strikers, but typically bad putters. And then we look at his past history here. He made the cut last year, missed the cut the 2 previous, and then had a T20 in 2018 and a missed cut. So at least he has experience here. Austin Eckroat, I wasn't really, on him, but for the price you're getting, if you're willing to play a Kyle Stanley, Austin Eckroat, of course, I believe, was he out of Texas, I think? Was a college outstanding, golfer. You can see out of this field, ranks number 3 on approach over his last few tournaments. Good drives, really good from 100 to 125. Around the green, suspect in putting. So he didn't. We don't have a ton of data on him, but when he has putted on POA, he's not gained. But recent results look pretty good, right? I mean, T22 at Bermuda, T37 at the Wyndham, a T16. So a lot of good finishes. Of course, he missed the cut at the Farmers. Again, so did a lot of guys, but he's never played here. So I kind of ding him for that. And so he's not going to be one of my top value plays. But I would probably plug him in more than I probably would a Ryan Moore or a Hayden Buckley. Just, give you guys some ideas from my side. So the other guy that I'm interested in, funny enough, but I think I talked about him. Maybe it was the Amex. I was interested. It was Peter Molinari. And again, maybe it's just because I've seen Peter Molinari just go super hot. He actually had a pretty good showing at the Farmers, which, funny enough, he's done okay at that course. And it doesn't make any sense because that is not a good course fit for him. Funny enough, the Amex and the Sony should be way better. And then, of course, like the RSM make total sense. He had a T40 there. But maybe he's found something. Of course, those were POA greens. He does gain on POA. So again, almost over half a stroke. So that's what really kind of got me excited because that's where he really struggles. Typically, he's not too bad. Tee to green, I know this doesn't look that great, but you can see around the green really good, and he gains on POA. So he's kind of accomplishing at least 2 out of the 3. And then, of course, he's played this event quite a bit. And let me go click on him. Let's do a little deeper dive. So he's not long off the tee, and he's kind of semi-accurate. I mean, when he's hitting fairways, he's fine. But you can see, like I said, over his career, he likes POA the best. Hence, again, why he's maybe done some of his best. And then this is what was crazy is that, again, I just talked about Sanderson Farms. That's like one of the last tournaments I remember where I thought for sure he'd win it. And then I think he had a bad Sunday. But he led, I think, the first 54 holes in this 2020 event. Of course, he won there in the past. And again, it doesn't really make a lot of sense because that course, but you can see, man, he just went in Fuego with the irons and the putter went nuts. Now, that's Bermuda. But that was what I'm trying to explain to you, is that he can get wicked hot with the putter. So like I said, he had the 11th there. It's one of his better finishes is at this course. Trying to see, there's RBC. Like I said, where I see him, the Sony. It's probably funny. I probably picked up for the Sony, and then he went and missed the cut. So that doesn't shock me. The Amex, there's the St. Jude, the Wyndham. So a lot of courses fit, and this is a course fit for him. So, again, slim pickings down here, but I like Peter Molinari. Bronson Burgoon, I pulled him up purely on tournament history, and he's just one of those players that, all of a sudden, there he is, Bronson Burgoon. You can see he's made some cuts, nothing great, but 3 out of his last 5 recent results. And every time he's played here, he's made the cut. So that's it. I'm just giving you that information. He's not a good putter, pretty good on approach, and then, nothing else really. So do with that what you may. Brian Stewart, I know the mini model doesn't look like, but this is his kind of course. Of course, he's from Jackson, Michigan, played at Central Michigan. I've kind of followed his career. This is what I really like, is that he gains, almost 3/4 of a stroke on the field when he putts on POA. You can see his tournament history here. He had a T16 last year, a missed cut, and a T45, and then a couple missed cuts. But this is a good course for him, but this is what's kind of spooky, right? Which is going to get people off him. He's had that 4 missed cuts, so his recent form is not good. But, he does what we want, right? I mean, like an RBC Heritage, he doesn't hit it long, but he hits it very accurate. He hits fairways at almost 75% of the time. That's like Corey Connors, Victor Hovland kind of numbers. He, over his total career, he gains POA as his best putting surface. And trying to see, before he went in this kind of little stink fest, he had a pretty good summer. He had a 15th at the Wyndham, a 6th at the 3M, Barbasol, John Deere. So that's some nice finishes. Again, I'm not saying recent form's good. He has won on tour before. Of course, this is the Zurich where, it's now a team partner event, but he has have a win. And then, like I said, Coastal Course. So Mayakoba, he's played well. It's a while ago. Fortinet, which I think I mentioned was my number 1 comparable course, not being a coastal course. He had a 3rd here not too long ago. Shriners. Funny enough, Sanderson Farms. For some of these guys that course should not fit them. It's funny, the guys. But again, it's the field that plays that. Sanderson Farm does not get a great field. RBC, the Amex, the Sony. So again, this course should fit him. And I think he could do well. He's low ownership and, again, less than 7. Camilo, almost a lot like a Nate Lashley. I look at these guys and I don't have Nate Lashley up here. I picked him last year for this event. He ended up having a 5th place finish. Had a chance to actually win the thing. If he didn't, he missed like a 3-footer. I've talked a lot about Nate Lashley because I watched him live at the Rocket Mortgage in Detroit. And I just always said I've just never seen irons hit so well. So same with Camilo. He does some things very well, and it's everything until he's got to put the putter in his hand. So he's not my number 1 pick, but you can see in my model rank, he's number 16. You can see he's firing everything but the putter, loses on all surfaces, and recent, he's made the last couple cuts. And out of the 3 times he's played here, which was a long time ago, he had a T11 and missed 2 cuts. So again, a name, somebody I think that could get you to the weekend. One of my favorite, probably the favorite play I have, I've already got a bet on him. I put him in my top 15, Mark Hubbard. So he's not going to be one of my top 5 value plays because I already gave you guys this play. But I just wanted to bring it up again. If somehow you missed my pick show, the best guy that I think you can play below 7,000 is Mark Hubbard. And if you want to understand and dive into more, go check out my pick show. But you can see everything's firing here. You can see gains on POA. His tournament history, pretty good. He's made 3 out of the 5 times he's won. And then, he was playing really well and then missed the last 2 cuts. But yeah, I like Mark Hubbard. Cameron Percy, this is probably the least. It looks like you're putting your grandpa in there, especially his picture. He's been around for a long time, but the guy will get you to the weekend. But people just typically don't like to play him. Even me, I'm not a big fan. But look, his tournament history here: a T21, a T10, a T57, with a couple cuts. But I mean, when he does make the cut, he has a chance of getting you that top 20. And then made 3 decent finishes. and then but miscut the last couple times. So I think he's a solid play down here. Funny enough, I'm kind of on the Luke Donald train. I don't know if I picked him. I don't know if I picked him as a top value play last week, but I definitely either last week or maybe at the Amex. I forgot now. I think it had to be the Amex. That makes way more sense. And he did pretty good. I mean, or it was a Sony. There you go. I apologize. He had a T27. So, you know, Luke Donald, again, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been watching golf a long time. And of course, I remember him when he was a number one player in the world. One of the most elite with the irons and in the sand, in the short game, and the putting. I mean, so there's always that in the back of my brain. I mean, Luke Donald's not too far off, if not like a year to go play on the Champions Tour. Again, I'd have to guess he's somewhere around 48, 49. But you can see over his last 24 rounds played on POA, he gains almost a half stroke. And what does Luke Donald do very well? Let's go click on it. He is usually very accurate. Well, always was. He's still pretty accurate. 60% of the fairways, hits at 280. You can see he's a really good putter, really good short game. And then here's those 3 boxes I talked about again over his career, gains on approach. And funny enough, right now over his last 5 events, he's getting back with his irons better than he ever was. That's pretty crazy because I would, when I think of Luke Donald, I think of just one of the most elite iron players. He's gaining a stroke on the greens and he's neutral with the putter. So he's found something. He had a, just recent a 16th at the 3M Open. When I say recent, this past summer, but he had that 27th at the Sony. He had a 13th at the Byron Nelson. So he's popped up there in better fields than this. So hopefully I don't have to sell you anymore. And then if I click on where he's, done, I mean, his wins, he's tore apart RBC Heritage. I mean, look at this, and that's a amazing, I think, course fit. I mean, runners up the wazoo. Where else here? And it's kind of crazy that he was a world number 1 without a major win and only 2 wins in his whole career. That's crazy, but that shows you how often he came in second, third. I mean, yeah. Anyways, made a great career, and I think he's a great play at 6,500. I would probably put him just below Mark Hubbard for me, as in guys that I would play. And of course, I haven't, you can't go any lower really than 6,400 Jonathan Bird. I mean, everything else is just trash. It's almost like amateurs. Some of these guys they got playing, like Peter Jacobson, really, like. So don't play any. My run recommendation is do not go below 6,500. And if you are going to go, Jonathan Bird and Tyler Duncan would be your best plays. Right, Tyler Duncan. I don't know if it was. I don't know if it was the Amex or the Sony. I think he came out the first day, and of course, I think he played the North Course, and it was like leading, the leaderboard. It was like 8 or 9 under, and then went out literally and missed the cut the next day. So there's Tyler Duncan. Jonathan Bird, this is kind of just, if Bird's going to do something, this is the track you can see. It's been a while. Missed the cut the last 2 times, but made the cut. Has played here quite a bit, and he's got some made cuts at some good comparable courses. Near him, well, he barely gains on POA. And Tyler Duncan, you can see the putter is not good, but he's a good ball striker. He'll get you to the green. It's can he get it in the hole? All right. So with that said, that gives you guys some ideas of plays. Okay, let's look at ownership projections. Who are going to be the chalky chalks? All right. So the good news is we have a lot of information here. So funny enough, even though this tournament, has a pretty weak field, and maybe because again football is on it, tuning down. There's a lot of data. So this should be pretty accurate. I've always said, we're going to go off this number over here, and typically it's 1 or 2% either way when the actual, DraftKings, when you go to look at these guys where they come in. But no shocker, the top 3 chalkiest is going to be Cantlay, Berger, and McNeely, especially with Will Z backing out. Like, I think, that just made these guys at the top even chalkier. But you know what? Actually made me excited because there's one more guy that, can't win. And then it makes my, as I mentioned, you guys, I am betting a lot of long shots. And you know what? I will actually go over all my bets for you guys. I never do that, but I'm going to do that for you guys. Just give you the list. It doesn't mean do it. It just means just so you know who I've got bet. And maybe you might be interested too on some long shots. And that's a lot of them are just long shots. Okay. Then the next row would be JR, Justin Rose, Tringali, Power, Seabez. And then like your next stack is like Kuchar, Streelman, Mito, Neesmith, Hoagie. You got Lanto, Knox, so some of these guys. Yeah, Jason Day coming at 12%. I'm surprised he's not a little chalkier. What I think is interesting is Jordan Spieth at 11%. Now, where that will actually all shake out, I'll be curious. But I think he would be a good pivot to start your lineups with. And we talked a little bit about this. I think Jordan will do well here. And what I mean by that is, will he win? No. But will he top 10? I think he's got a real good shot to do so. Removing some recent form, removing that he was sick. Again, I also heard that, he could be tinkering again with his swing, so that could be some issues. But overall, like I said, you got to make some decisions. And if you try to differentiate and get off the chalk up here up top, I think he's not a bad place, of course, if he's your number one guy going in. I think Nick Taylor is funny that, he's at 10%. I'm not on that. I don't, I know he showed a little bit to Farmers. I know he's, of course, a wire-to-wire winner here, but I don't know. That's some chalk that I will not be eating. Fitzpatrick, that's another interesting play. So again, if you start out like Spieth, Fitzpatrick, is Fitzpatrick, technically he's a better player than McNeely and Rose. And you can even say maybe Tringali, yeah. But he just hasn't played in a while. And when we did see him recent, he, hasn't done a whole lot. And he had a bad 2021 season. Let's just say what it is. But the body of work, Matthew Fitzpatrick, this just should be a perfect course for him. Let me click on him real quick, because I don't think I talked too much about him in any of the previous stuff. So you see Bermuda's where he does damage, usually a very good putter. Of course, he likes to leave the pin in. That kind of annoys me. I feel like literally since he's done that, I think he's become a worse putter. But does gain on POA. And what I wanted to look at is just where he's had. Okay, so he had a decent, because what was going in my mind was that I've always pegged him again as a short course, kind of strategic plotter. And it does shake out. Maybe I was remember the Memorial and Arnold Palmer, which are, bigger boy tracks. But RBC's had a fourth. WGC St. Jude, he's had good showings. I'm trying to see if anything else kind of correlates. Again, a lot of RBCs. So long story short, I think, I will build some lineups just to get off the chalk. Maybe starting with like a Spieth Fitzpatrick. And again, not a cash game in a large GPP event. Patty Perez, that's quite a bit of chalk for him. I don't know about that. There's my Blackbeard's coming in at 8%. My Denny, so those two guys I'm high on. Who else here? Mac Hughes at 6%. I like him. So yeah, I'd rather play Mark Hubbard than Brandon Harkins. There's my Percy. I talked about Taylor, Brian Gay, good course history here. Wyndham Clark, one of my top 15s. Hoffman would be interesting. So honestly, that would be an interesting play. Because we haven't seen him and he's dealing with a hurt back. A lot of people are going to shy away from him, but could Hoffman do well here? He could. So that'd be kind of an interesting build with him in it. Schwartzel's only 3.5. That's kind of shocking. Britton Todd could be a great fit here. Stuart Sink, I think, could do well here. Where was Luke Donald at? I just saw him. 1.6%. All right, it just gives you an understanding of some of the ownership projections. Let's go talk weather real quick. All right, so you're going to want to use Windfinder, I always state. You're going to want to pull up Pebble Beach, Fan Shell Beach. That's right there on the three courses. And, of course, we're going to want to look at Thursday. Everything looks great. I mean, they're going to have, if you've watched this tournament enough, there's been some really bad weather that they've dealt with. But over the last, seems like a few years, they've had good weather. I've seen it where it's had like that snow, hail. That cannot be fun playing in. But from a weather perspective, all good on Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday is all, again, nothing crazy. And again, it's a coastal course, so winds could kick up at any time. But if you want to get a little creative, you might want to look for guys that are going to get, maybe Spyglass done on Thursday, and then they would play Pebble Beach on Friday, and then Monterey is what I was getting to, is that, the guys that play Monterey on Saturday, it's the easiest course, but it's also furthest. They don't have any holes on the water. It's back in the woods some. So, Spyglass has, I think, 5 holes that touch the water and is the tougher of the 3 tracks. So If you want to get unique and make a build that way, I might try that. It's just an idea. And then Sunday, again, we'll worry about Sunday when it's there, but it's got some spikes, but nothing. Everything looks great. Looks like great weather. But like I said, if you want to get a little unique, like I said, the highest the wind will blow looks like on Saturday. Okay, let's jump out of this and wrap it up. All right, so to summarize my top value plays of 7K and below, my first one is Brian Stewart, as I mentioned, Jackson, Michigan guy. Should be a perfect course fit. Recent form has not been good, but he's had some decent course history here. But this should fit him. Gains on POA greens. So I like him. Of course, I mentioned Luke Donald. It's been showing, playing some good golf for Luke Donald. He does everything, again, like a Brian Stewart, hit the fairways, hit the greens, and can putt on POA. Molinari, right? I mean, this is probably out of those three guys, he's probably a little more, could get wayward, but at times could get way hotter with the putter. Really good around the green. Yeah, he's just a super streaky guy. And so, but down there for that price tag, I'll take that shot. Then you got Vaughn Taylor, who, of course, as I mentioned, his only win on tours here back in 2016. This course fits him, of course, and, pretty decent recent form. And he can spike. He hit me, as I mentioned, a top 10. Oh, geez, it was a while ago, but it was on a course that he should not have done it. It might have been like a Sanderson Farms or something like that. I don't remember exactly now. Maybe it was John Deere. I think it was John Deere because I hit Glover outright and I hit him top 10. So John Deere, I think he ended up like 8th or something like that, or 6th. And then last but not least, Kyle Stanley. This is kind of going under the premise, a little bit like the Luke List. He's been popping up here or there. Elite ball striker, has won in the past. And the putter has, shown some life here or there. So if he goes out, just breaks neutral, he could get you up in that top 20. He's that good of a ball striker. All right, now for one and done. So, of course, I mentioned I'm doing the Pat Mayo Cup. And, trying to remember, I think I hit, I remember this now. Russ Henley ended up, of course, losing to Hideki. And then I went with Answer, who like T40. That was, whatever. And then I went with Finau. So that's where I'm at right now. And I missed the cut. That sucked. So where I'm at picking, I'm looking at Daniel Berger. There's a few courses like the Schwab that you might want to play him at. I don't feel like I'm not going to save him. I don't think he's a major killer. So I'm not worried about that. I'm just looking for a short track. So I might plug him in here. Of course, I'm looking at Matt McNeely out of, best course fit for him and just loves it and lived here. And, the only thing that makes me a little nervous is will he psych himself out a little bit or try too hard? But of course, it hasn't showed up in the past. I believe he's at a second and a fifth, if I remember correctly. So I like Mav as a one and done. Of course, Jason Day. Now, this is the Tony Finau experience. Even though he did just show good recent form, but it's really a one tournament of sample. If you look, I think is 4 tournaments below, nothing great to talk about, or beforehand, I should say. So it could go awry. Now, there's no reason why, just like Finau, he should not top 10 this, but I don't know. Who knows? So, well, his back could kick in, and there you go. So I'm probably a little less on Jason Day, but he is somebody you could use. Of course, Jordan Spieth. I'm going to use him, of course, in Texas. Let's wait to see his game trend up, but he loves it here. He's just a past winner here. And this could be just like last year where he turns it on and has a nice finish for you. So, I'll probably, like I said, wait and hold on. And I can understand why you would too. But if you want to use him, it would be a good one and done. And then last but not least, if you haven't used his Seamus Power yet, I think he's a steady, solid play where I feel like he won't miss the cut. I mean, I probably say it and just jinxed him, but he's a guy that could get you a top 20 and should have no problem. He just been doing everything very well. So there you go. That's my one and done picks. I've not for sure landed. It's probably because I just took that miscut. I'm really going to want to put someone in that I think that could do well. And and on a total side note about Daniel Berger, I watched his presser, and it was only like 10 minutes long. And he talked about he's still using his irons from high school, the 2011s from TaylorMade, the MCs, which is funny. I use the same iron. It's a little newer version, but almost identical. Where I'm going with all that is nobody asked a question, which I could not believe, about, hey, Daniel, we noticed on Saturday that you pulled your, lower back. You tweaked your side. Not one question. So really, I literally tweeted him. If you guys follow me, you would have seen it. And I have not gotten a response. And I noticed he hasn't done a lot of activity. I think the last time he's tweeted anything was at the Ryder Cup. So I'm not expecting a response, but I was shocked that no one said, "Hey, how's the back? What happened? How, nothing." So I tried. We'll see if I get anything back. If I do, I'll let you guys know. Okay, let's. I told you guys I'd give you all my bets, which is pretty rare. But this is an event that I am going to bet more than I will put money on a DFS perspective. So if you care, or you can shut it down now, but if you care, I'll tell you who I'm betting. Okay, I got Wyndham Clark, who was what's he at 150 to 1. I got Brent Snedeker 80 to 1. I got Vaughn Taylor 200 to 1. I got my buddy Brian Stewart. So you can see the guys I also pick, I do put money on 200 to 1. Even Nate Lashley, just because 300 to 1. I mean, this is like the last tournament he's done anything at. So maybe there's some good vibes there. Hey, Peter Molinari, who I picked 300 to 1. Got a bet on him. Bryce Garnett has just been playing terrible, but he's 400 to 1. And again, if you've been, if you watch a lot of fantasy, if you know this stuff, these are the guys that fit this track. Andrew Landry, which again, he's been in terrible form, but this would be the kind of track that Andrew Landry would show up. He's 400 to 1. For whatever reason, I threw in a Max McGreevy. Of course, he's one of our Corn Ferry guys that came up. He's had a little, spots of greatness, we'll say, at times. He's 400 to 1. The Birdman. And again, of course, I put small bets on all these. But I kind of look at, on these kind of tournaments, if I miss a 400 or 300 or 200 to 1, and didn't put at least a little something on, it kind of drives me a little nuts. So I got the Birdman 400. Richie Werenski. I didn't talk about him at all, but literally, again, this is his kind of course that he could do well. I think he's 6,300-ish on DraftKings. He's shown no life lately, but this when it was a 3M Open, I think with Blackbeard, when he was in contention there. I think he ended up runner up or third. He's popped up here or there like a Jim Herman, someone out of nowhere that just, and this is the kind of course. I got him 500 to 1. So yeah, why not? Nick Watney, 500 to 1. Again, he's been trash, but Tom Hoagie, 65 to 1. Now we're kind of getting into more of the bets that, seem a little more realistic. Luke Donald, again, a 400 to 1. I think I said his skill set. Kyle Stanley, 200 to 1, which, again, he's my pick. Stuart Sink, again, I didn't pick him, but I think, he could sneakily, all I keep going back is the Safeway, the Fortinet where he won. He's won on RBC Heritage. He won. So this is a perfect setup for him from a course fit. Chesson Hadley, I think I already told you guys I bet him on the previous 250 to 1. Andrew Putnam, 80 to 1, which I think you can get a better, or one time you did have a better number, but that's what I got him at, and that was early on. Aaron Rye, just because, like I said, recent what we saw. Blackbeard, I got a bet 80 to 1. Mark Hubbard, 150 to 1. Seabez at 50 to 1. Denny McCarthy, 50 to 1. And then Mac Hughes, 50 to 1. So you guys can see I've got a bit on the betting side. And I don't do that often, but because this is a tournament, there's maybe 3 or 4 of these kind of tournaments that anyone can win. I really believe that at times. I'll invest more on that side than I will DFS. I think, that's just me. All right. With all that said, if you like what I'm doing, click that like button, share with anybody else that might like what I'm doing. Hit that subscribe button if you've not subscribed. Again, we just crossed the 1,000 threshold. Want to keep that moving, keep me doing what I'm doing. So if you've not subscribed and you like this, please do so. And last but not least, follow me on Twitter at DFS Golf Guru. From a pure standpoint of anything I get from the PGA, I pass it on to you guys. Or, anything. Sometimes I throw out some random anecdotes, but it's not like I'm super active on there. It's only around the golf, and it's only if I see something from a withdrawal side. And on that note, John actually withdrew too, which you'll see that on DraftKings. All right, guys. Hey, have a great tournament. I wish us all the success. Let's win some money this weekend. And I will talk to you guys on Monday. I'm excited because we got the Waste Management, one of my favorite tournaments. So talk to you guys later. And where I hit Brooks Koepka last year. All right, guys. Take care.